In this video I'm going to finish off our entire script, so we'll be able to drag, we'll be able to click and deselect and hold shift, and then we can add units to the group by clicking or dragging as well. So by the end of this video everything will be done. Alright, so firstly I'm going to zoom out a little bit. In the previous video we added the selected boolean value to our unit script, so I'm just going to put this somewhere in our script. If we scroll down to the deselect game objects if selected function, this is where we deselect everything. So as we're deselecting, we could just say ArrayList unit, okay, get component, right at the top there, get component, we're getting the unit script, and then we can say selected equals false. That's all we need to do there, okay? So we've got this boolean value here, finish drag on this frame. We need to set it to true if we did in fact finish the drag. And we know that if we get the input left mouse up here and the user's been dragging, I'm going to replace this debug log with finish on this frame equals true. Okay, and there's one more thing. Remember when I said the mouse up point, we might need that? Well, it turns out we don't need it, so I'm going to delete this out. I was kind of guessing what we'd need in the future, and it turns out we don't need that at all. Okay, so I need to define a couple more methods at the bottom here. We'll sort out all these methods later on, but I'm just going to define a couple more first. The first one, we're going to check if the unit is inside the drag. Okay, is unit inside the drag? And this is going to be a public boolean, unit inside drag. And we're going to bring in a vector 2, unit screen position. So this is very similar to the one we made here, so unit within screen space. It's very similar. I'm not going to copy and paste it because the greater and greater and smaller than signs are a bit confusing. So we say if something, return true, else return false. So we can say if the unit screen position dot x is greater than box start dot x, and again unit screen position, let's copy this out actually, point y is less than box start x, okay, dot y, sorry, okay, and again dot x is less than box finish this time, and if the unit screen position y is greater than box finish dot y. Okay guys, so similar to this function here, we're just checking if the unit is inside the box, the drag box, instead of the screen space this time. Alright, so that's all this function does. And before I forget, if I change this to a static, we also need to change the box start and the box finish to a static as well. As I don't think they are at the moment. I changed them to a static. Okay, remember to change these to a static variable, otherwise we can't call them in static functions. Okay guys, so that's why I did that. Let's go to the bottom again. Quite a big script now. So the second method I need to do is check if the unit is already in the units drag array list. Okay, check if a unit is in units in drag array list. So it's a public static boolean, going to return true or false, unit already in dragged units, and we're going to bring in the game object called unit. So similar to another function, we checked if a unit was already in the currently selected units, so I'm just going to copy that one, unit already in currently selected units, so copy and paste, going to copy and paste that one in there, and all we need to do is change that currently selected units to units in drag. Okay, boom, that's that one done. Okay guys, so checking if a unit is in the units in drag array list. And the last method is quite a long one, and this one's going to deal with what happens after we've finished a drag. And when we finish the drag, we take all units from units in drag into currently selected units. Alright, so public static void, quite a long name, put dragged units in currently selected units. Alright, so doesn't return anything, just a void. Alright, so the first thing we can say, if the shift keys are not down, deselect everything, because things will be selected in the previous frame as we've dragged in the previous selections and stuff. If the shift key is not down, we want to make a new selection, so we remove everything to begin with. And then we say if the units in drag.count is greater than 0, then we can actually put them in the currently selected units. So we loop through them. So for int I equals 0, I is less than units in drag.count I++. We firstly get the game object itself, so game object unit object equals units in drag at this index, and cast it as a game object. So now we can say if unit is not already in currently selected units, add it. So if we've made a function for this already in currently selected units, we can bring in the unit object, currently selected units, add the unit object. Alright guys, and we can also refer to that selected object in the unit script as well. Unit object, get component, and the unit, and selected equals true. Okay. And after the for loop is all done, we can clear the units in the drag. Units in drag, clear. Tidy things up. And that's all done. So now we can go up and actually code the logic of what happens when we actually finish a drag. Okay guys, and we're going to do that in the late update function, because we want all these things to happen after we've finished working out our drag and our mouse, and also once the unit has updated its position on the screen. Okay, so we want all of this stuff to happen before we determine what is in the drag. So that is why we're using late update. Okay, let's make some space. So the first thing I want to do in late update is units in drag clear, because we'll have if we've been dragging, we'll have the units from the previous frame in the drag, and instead of looping through them and seeing if we've removed any, etc., etc., we can just clear them and work out how many units are in there again. Okay guys, and that is a lot simpler than that other way. Okay, so we only want to do this if firstly the user is dragging or we've finished on this frame. So if we finished, drag on this frame, and the units on screen count is greater than 0. Okay, so we only want to work out how many units are in the drag and then add them and stuff if the user's dragging, if we finished dragging on this frame, and if the units on the screen is actually greater than 0, so there are units to drag and select and stuff. Okay, so if user is dragging or finished on this frame and there are units to select on the screen, okay, the first thing we want to do is loop through those units on the screen. Okay, so again the for loop, I equals 0, I is less than units on screen this time, dot count, I plus plus. And now we want to reference three things. We want to reference the game object itself, so the unit object equals the units on screen at this index as a game object. That's the first thing we want to reference. And we want to reference the script, the unit component script on the unit itself. So we can type def this as the unit script. So we type def it the name of the script, and we can say unit script, okay, equals unit object get component, okay, and then we do the same thing. So the unit, okay, and that's all we need to do. So we type def it as the name of the script itself, okay guys, and that is just the unit script we're referring to on this object. So the last thing we need is the selected object, and this is going to be the game object again, which is the projector that shows the user whether they selected the unit or not, equals unit object transform find child, okay, selected game object. So if I hop back into this, we're finding that selected object here, okay. Once we found all these things, we can say if not already in the dragged units. So if unit already in dragged units, unit object, just to be on the safe side, guys, you know. So if it's not already in the dragged units, well, if the unit is inside the drag, so inside the drag, okay, then we refer to that script, so the unit script screen position. So if you remember, this method takes in a vector 2, so the 2D position of this unit. Okay, so we're getting that from the unit script, which we've done in the previous video. Then selected object dot active equals true. We're showing the user that yep, it's inside the drag now, and units in drag add unit objects. Okay, guys. So what if the unit is not in the drag? So else, and all we need to do here is remove the selected graphic if unit is not already in currently selected units, because we've been dragging and then the unit comes out of the drag, so we only want to keep it highlighted if it is already selected. So we say if, or we got that function going, if already in currently selected units, unit object, so if is not already in there, selected object active equals false. Okay, guys, close it off. Okay, so let's just tidy up our curly braces here, and the last thing we need to do is actually put the dragged units in the currently selected unit. So if we've finished on this frame, well, firstly we can reset this value because we finished the drag, then we're back to false again, so equals false, and all we need to do is call our function put dragged units in currently selected units. Okay, so let's go back to Unity and see if it works. So dragging, oh, the mouse is dragging over the unit. It's selected when it's in the drag, and now it's not selected. So selected, not selected. Let's let go. Boom, I've got one currently selected unit. Alright, guys, so that's how we do it. And the last test I'm going to do is just duplicate a couple of them out so we can test the shift key functionality. So I'm holding down shift. Okay, removes when we're at the shift, and I've let go of shift. Okay, we've got 3. Okay, so let's keep going, holding shift. Okay, now I've got 5. Okay, and I can deselect them if I want to, and select them. Alright, guys, so that's that video out of the way. Now we can get to optimizing this script, and we can kind of change the code so we can reuse it in the games really easily and stuff. So I'll do that in the next video and optimize it a little bit as well. So thanks for watching, guys. See you in the next video.